Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, I got my copy of Desolation, so I'm gonna be checking that out, and I'm gonna wait for some other stuff to show up, some new Ubiquity games. So you know, uh, I'll check those out and get back to you. But anyway, today I want to talk to you about something that I was reminded of. As I'm watching Runeslinger's videos, he's talking about the Ubiquity system being really friendly to the idea that characters. These are, in a lot of cases, these games, these are like really kind of pulp fiction characters when it boils right down to it. They have this kind of vibe that they're pretty good at a lot of stuff anyway. And you can there's ways to substitute one attribute for another. So even though you might not be very strong, you can still use something like intelligence or charisma in combat. The idea that you're playing some broadly skilled player characters. And that's something that for the last 30 years at least, that's kind of the assumption I made when I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, is that we were playing adventurers. These people weren't going out and having adventures and doing cool stuff and exploring the world, you know without being pretty broadly skilled, without being fairly competent. Because despite the fact that they might not have been the smartest person or the strongest person or the wisest person, etc., they should have had enough skills to get by, in the big bad world, no matter what they were doing. And certainly, if you read any kind of fiction, any sort of adventure fiction or whatever, whether it's pulp or not, or the TV shows and the movies, for the most part, these characters, these heroes, whether they're heroic or scoundrels or whatever, they're broadly skilled. They're fairly competent. They're able to survive, a variety of situations. And so they have a big skill base. And, to me, I like games that support that notion. Certainly something like old school D&D, the whole Lamentations of Flame Princess, etc. The kind of tacit assumption is, these guys are good at a lot of stuff. They're gonna be okay in most situations, and every once in a while they get into a bit of trouble or they need somebody with a real niche skill. Go pick this lock, etc. So, those are the kind of games I like. And, I'll never forget. I don't want to come down on things like D20 and Pathfinder, but, I remember I got a reintroduction to gaming, and a group of my friends I knew gamed. They were playing Pathfinder, so I got into a Pathfinder game, and a really good DM. Like the guy, whatever system he runs the system the way the system's supposed to be run. So, it's not his fault. But, first session or two, and we're in a situation where we're in a combat. And I realized what I wanted to do was tackle this guy. And I was fighting a couple of guys, but I wanted to tackle one of them and push him over. And I forget what the actual situation was. And normally, in the games I was used to, okay, I'd say I want to do this, and we'd figure out something on the fly, and DM would say something on the fly, roll whatever, or boom, and move on. But I'll never forget these words. My DM looked at me and said, "Do you have the improved bull rush feat?" I said, "What?" And then he explained to me that I was going to provoke attacks of opportunity, etc., and all the other stuff that was going to happen, and I had some kind of other mechanical disadvantage. And I realized at this point that in that type of game that there was a basic math problem, and it was, well, if X then Y, and if X then Y, then it must stand to reason that if not X, not Y. And I was in a situation of having not X, so I didn't get Y. And I didn't know why. So I'm not a fan of that. It's a bit too restrictive in my opinion. Not that the old school games are incredibly permissive, but you know what I mean. That's never sat well with me, and that was the beginning of the end for me and some of the D20 modern type games. I don't dislike them all. It's just not my cup of tea for the most part. So anyhow, yeah, that was my kind of little rant on the idea that the base assumption for me is if I'm playing in any kind of game, whether it's going to be something like Desolation or Lamentations of the Flame Princess, or some of these other games I'm looking forward to getting, the whole League of Adventure and All for One, Regime Diabolique, which just I really like that concept, or whatever it is, Gamma World, whatever. The idea is like they should be broadly skilled people. They should be people that are competent. I'm playing people that are, maybe they're not gods that walk the earth, but they're cut above the average person. They're competent. We play competent characters. So I like games that support that, where if you don't have a listed skill, that doesn't mean you're a complete idiot or just unable to function. So that's my rant.